we want to make our salsa di pomodori secchi. And now here are those tomatoes that have been sitting around for a while, the ones that I originally did for you in the jar. And you see now they're ready to use in a number of ways. And today, I want to do that in a frying pan using these tomatoes with a little bit of olive oil. So again, you want to start with about 1/4 cup of olive oil in a frying pan. And now the ingredients for this are not particularly traditional, although this is. If you were having these in Sicily, this would be something that the Italians use to make strato, or a tomato extract. But today I'm using the dried tomatoes to make my own type of dried tomato sauce. Now in the olive oil, you want to put a clove of garlic, a large clove of garlic that you've just minced up, and you want to get that soft. And with it, you want to have some anchovies. Now, anchovies in oil, and here are anchovies. And of course, in Italy, fresh, these are absolutely delicious, and we're using them today just minced up. So you want about 2 or 3 of those. And now it's really important when you're cooking the anchovies in the olive oil with the garlic that you don't do this on too high a heat. Number one, you don't want to burn the garlic. Everybody knows that. But on the other hand, you don't want to scorch the anchovies either, because they should just dissolve very slowly in the olive oil, almost until they're just really disintegrated. With our dried tomato sauce, we want to have some capers. These are capers, and you find them in a lot of Italian cooking. And they're really a seed pod from a bush that grows in the Mediterranean, and they have a very bitter flavor, because they're preserved in brine or sometimes in salt. And I want to add this now with the anchovies and just kind of press on them with the back of my spoon into the oil. And this is looking very nice. Now, I know some of these combinations don't sound so good. I've got anchovies and capers, and now I'm going to put in, about 1 cup of these tomatoes. And really, all I want to do here is use, maybe about 10 or 12 of these, because I just want these to cook, for a few minutes in the oil, because then we're going to puree this. So I need a couple more. And you see how beautifully these stay, and that's plenty, that's enough for that. And this we can use later on for something else. So once they're in, we'll then just move them around in the oil for a few minutes. And now this is going to be a very concentrated sauce. This will dress 1 pound of pasta. Not all of it, but just maybe about half of it will dress 1 pound of pasta. So it's very concentrated. And then with this, you want to have some dry red wine. So you want about 1/4 cup of that. So that goes in. And all we want to do here now is let that sauce reduce for a minute or so before we go to the next step. And it's cooked down some. And it goes right into a food processor. And if you didn't have a food processor, well, then you could do this in a blender, but it would be pretty hard to try to do it by hand. So once it's in the food processor, then you want to puree this up and get that smooth. You really want that to be nice and smooth. And it's very, very thick when it's done. And let me show you what that looks like. So get it going. And then the only other thing you're going to have to do is put that in a jar and save it, or put it back in the frying pan if you're going to use it right away, and heat it up to go over your rigatoni. Look at that. Look at how concentrate this is. This does remind me of the strato or the strato that's made in Sicily in the summertime, with tomatoes drying on boards out in the hot sun, and then put into jars as a paste later on. We want to add some of this sauce. And I'm not going to add all of this like I told you. I'm going to add half and just mix this in. And you see how this sauce absolutely sticks into the grooves of the rigatoni. And again, this is another thing that you want to remember about making sauces and cooking Italian. You never want to over sauce the dish.